I'm gonna put it on Facebook. Okay. Okay, we're back, Dr. Mike and I. Hang on, I just have to find my. So here we're back. Thank you, Dr. Mike, for joining me. Nicole was awesome at the first show, and Dr. Mike provided really important information for stroke recovery and for preventing strokes, and really some information that we need to work on. Nicole and I are going to get together, and Dr. Mike, of course, will join us in becoming advocates for having those stroke tests, or not stroke tests, but blood tests, um, uh, added to the panel of tests that are taken annually at your doctor's, because like we said in the first show, some of the panels of blood tests aren't included in your annual blood test. And with Nicole, if she would have had this one test taken, she would have not suffered a major stroke. And of course, everybody knows now that Nicole shared it, that it was her birth control. And when you go on birth control, maybe the gynecologist or your doctor, your original doctor, your medical doctor, should take those tests so that you have all the facts in front of you. So really important information. We're going to continue to work on it, but I'm going to let Dr. Mike continue to talk, because Dr. Mike is the professional here and he has so much information. He does incredible work for us, providing us with alternate options, with mainstream situations that could really enhance life, could really save a life. So I'm going to let Dr. Mike continue. Dr. Mike, take it away.
Okay, thanks. You wanted to go over Be Fast again, you said, for this?
Yes, Be Fast. Be Fast is really important because it is, and I wanted to share this in the first show, and I actually forgot that, Be Fast, the last one is time. I'm gonna let Dr. Mike share it, that they stand for. But when you call the ambulance, with the time, you really should let them know that the situation, that it looks like it could be a stroke. So you need to know the Be Fast so that you could analyze the situation and let them know on the phone that it could be a stroke, so someone suffering a stroke, because time is of the essence. So I'm going to let Dr. Mike take it away again. Dr. Mike.
All right. So, like you said, it used to be just fast, and now it's Be Fast. So BEFAST, and the B is for balance, because if you're having a stroke now, just if you feel like you're a little off balance, you can't be calling 911, because you have to use discretion with things, because some people call 911, and you hear about these stories about somebody calling 40, 50, 60 times in a month, to get the point where it's like the boy that cried wolf. So
I know. I know.
But B is for balance. So you might be losing your balance, tripping, falling, getting, your equilibrium's off. So that's one possible sign. And in general, with all these things, and we didn't mention this in the last show, when they start getting worse, in other words, you're getting it and it's progressing to making a symptom that's more pronounced, then that's
right.
Fine.
Right. And your intuition usually tells you, right?
Right.
You know your body pretty well, and you say to yourself, it's out of the ordinary.
Right.
It doesn't feel right to me. If you get that little intuition in you, there should be no hesitation in calling 911.
Well, we all know with certain things, for example, we feel like we're run down, we feel like we're coming down with something, but you're not yet.
Right,
Feel
right.
like you're off. So then you try to take care of yourself, maybe chicken soup, some rest, and hopefully you don't come down with whatever was brewing. But the next E is for eyes. Your vision is blurred. You can't focus your eyes. Maybe your eyes drooping. Uh, so that's the E. F is next, the face. Okay, can't raise your eyebrows, you can't smile, your face is drooping, you have numbness in your face, any of those things. A would be arms. You have numbness or tingling in your arms. You can't raise your arms. Now, if it's going down your left arm and you're tightness in the chest, it could be indication of a heart attack, but still another indication to call 911.
But Dr. Mike, I want to ask you something because I get like numbness at night, but sometimes it's because of how I'm sleeping.
Right.
So when I move it around and stuff, if it goes away, then it's really nothing. It's when you're normal in a normal situation
Right.
and won't go away, right?
A lot of times, positional sleeping can cause impingement of certain nerves,
Right.
cause some numbness. Correct. Absolutely correct. The next S is for speech. Your speech is slurred. It sounds like you're intoxicated or you can't talk at all. Is definitely an indication immediately to, get help. And the last one is time. And time is of the essence, as we said before, because the sooner you get treated, the better. And the sooner you get to the hospital, the better. And there's different, you know, uh, clot breaking situations they can do, either drugs or they actually can go with a catheter up and physically remove the clot. And that's all something that has to be done sooner rather than later.
Right. And I think that the hour used to be 4.5 hours. You're 4.5 hours. And please, I want to reiterate what I said initially, that when you do call the ambulance 911, please tell them that it could be a stroke. Not that it was a stroke, because you don't know, because you're not a doctor, but please let them know, because they will move quickly, because they know, like a heart attack, that it could be your life. It could be something that has to do with your life. So go ahead, Dr. Mike.
And then what we mentioned before, also the first show, is headaches, which is not on the list, but I think it should be on the list because sometimes people say when they're having a stroke, they have a headache like they've never had before, a severe headache. So, but just because you have a severe headache doesn't mean you're having a stroke. So if you're having a severe headache with none of the other symptoms, in all probability, you're not having a stroke. All right. But the other thing I forgot to mention the first hour is a TIA. We'll discuss that a little bit. A transient ischemic attack. Now, there's two different types of strokes. One, which is ischemic, which is a blockage, and the other one is a hemorrhagic, where there's bleeding. But with a TIA, it's the first. It's the one which is occlusion or blockage. You cannot have a TIA with a hemorrhagic stroke because that's
Right.
damage and bleeding.
Right.
And with that, usually the symptoms disappear within 24 hours or so. The symptoms disappear with a TIA. It's also called a mini stroke.
Yes. But I would want to share something, because I've had many people on that have had stroke TIAs. And to me, I mean, sometimes you're not feeling well and then it goes away, but you have to go get checked out. You
Exactly.
have to, because that could be a wink that something more serious is happening to you.
They call
And
it,
please don't, a wink from
right.
God.
Uh,
So
they call that a shot over the bow.
yeah. Yeah.
Which that comes from the Navy when they're warning another ship to, move, don't go their course. They shoot, don't shoot at the ship. They just shoot one over them.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And you get
No,
out of dodge.
it's important that you take that little wink that something is. I mean, my father, when he was working for Meals on Wheels, and I'll never forget, he was walking down the a ramp and he broke his ankle. But thank God he broke his ankle, because he was in the hospital that night when he suffered a major heart attack. So
Right.
if he didn't break his ankle, he would have suffered that major heart attack here, and we would have not been able to help him. And then it turns out that he needed to be on dialysis because his kidneys weren't working, functioning correctly. So, like Nicole said in the first show, it's everything happens for a reason. And yes, you don't want to break an ankle, but breaking that ankle saved my father's life. So, and we took him to the hospital and everything was taken care of for the next 3 years. And then he passed because, it was tough to be on dialysis, but we had that 3 years with him to celebrate him.
That's a great point. And, there's the old expression that God works in strange ways.
Yeah. Yep, he does. He does. You sometimes you have like, we look at it like it was a blessing for him to break his ankle, where others would have said, "Oh my God, now we can't work, now we can't do this, now we can't do that." But it was a blessing that he broke his ankle, a true blessing, true
Right.
blessing. So,
Now, what we're going over now are ways you can naturally deal with preventing a stroke. And also, a lot of things can be applied to post stroke rehabilitation too.
okay,
So, the first thing I want to mention is that the human body is 60% water by weight. So, junk comes in, junk goes out. Okay. Pure water is very, very important. And there's the Environmental Working Group. If you Google EWG tap water database, if you just Google that, EWG for Environmental Working Group, put the zip code in, and it'll show you all the toxins in your tap water. And in Paramus, where my office is, it's crazy. It's like over 2,000 times the level it should be with the forever chemicals. That's the ones that DuPont dumped. It. There was a movie that was made about that, and I think it was the Ohio River. But there's so much pollution, and I have a master's degree in environmental health, and one of our professors used to say all the time, the solution to pollution is not dilution. That's what you.
so but Dr. Mike, how can they allow you to drink that water if it's that polluted? I mean, isn't there guidelines that could protect you?
There's guidelines. It's very, very interesting. Is that we got a postcard at the office from the water company saying um, that their water is pure and it meets all government standards.
Okay.
Then I contacted them. I said, I got a report here from the Environmental Working Group that says, oh, that's fake news, they told me. So, there's an old expression that something's rotten in Denmark. I'm not sure if that's politically incorrect to say
Yeah.
nowadays.
So, okay, so and I know that a lot of water company towns have had water issues. Especially when there's a breakage in a pipe or something
Right.
like we just had in Patterson.
That's different.
So the bottled water, how do we know that that's pure?
Well, you don't. And a lot of the bottled water is not, and you get the microplastics in the bottled water. The best thing to do is get a reverse osmosis filtration system.
Wait, say that slower, Dr. Mike.
A
What
reverse
should they get?
osmosis.
And that's something you tap onto your.
Well, you can get them which uh, are above the counter or under the counter. There's two different types you can get. And what it does is it removes all these pollutants from the tap water. But the problem is then you don't get your minerals. So then you have to take a good mineral supplement too to replace the minerals that you're not getting because you're in reverse osmosis water. But the first thing to do for general health is to make sure you're having pure water. Because like I said, 60% of the body is water. Then the next thing to concentrate on is to try to eat organic. And the Environmental Working Group also comes up with they're called their Dirty Dozen and their Clean 15. And every year they come up with the products that you should always buy organic and the ones that you don't have to buy organic, the Clean 15. Like, for example, if you get onions or avocados, it's not that important to get them organic. But if you're getting strawberries and lettuce and peaches, it's very important to get organic. And you can just Google that too, the Clean 15 or the Dirty Dozen. So you want to eat all the colors of the rainbow, and you want to keep your sugar down low as far as, but when you eat fruit sugar, though, it's different from putting sugar in your coffee.
Right, right,
And
right.
my son yesterday was telling me about some drink they have, I think at Starbucks, where it's like, they call it diabetes in a cup. I think it's got, like it's over 100 grams of sugar in a drink, which is ridiculous. It depends on who you read or look at, but in my opinion, you should have under about 25 grams of sugar a day. And I've gotten used to a long time ago having tea or coffee with no sugar.
Is
And
honey the same though?
honey is good, but there's some controversy about honey. The honey should be not put into hot, um, like tea or into coffee, because it doesn't taste that great in coffee, though, I imagine. I've never had it in coffee
Me
because
neither.
it,
I like it in tea though.
it
Tea with
contains
lemon.
it. So the right, but the tea shouldn't be that hot. It should cool down a little bit before you put the honey in. Because if you have it at boiling temperature, it can change the chemical composition of the tea and make it not as healthy for you.
Oh, okay. That's
It's
pretty interesting.
the composition of the honey, I should say, not the tea.
Yeah.
So eat organic. As far as there's Dr. Chen, who I knew, he was a doctor of Chinese medicine. He worked for the National Institute of Health. He used to tell me that we have 4 canine teeth and 32 teeth. So 1/8 of our intake of food should be animal protein. He said he was a big advocate of not being a vegan or vegetarian, that we're omnivores and we should eat. And that's a whole other medical controversy.
The whole other
Whole
conversation.
other.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But if you do eat animal protein, you should eat animal protein, but the animals eat in their natural environment, like
Right.
grass-fed beef. Um, you should have pasture-raised eggs. And as far as eggs go, the worst are conventional eggs. Then you have cage-free, which is you get to run around a little area. Then you have free range to get a bigger area. But pasture-raised is what you're really looking for, organic pasture-raised for the eggs. Uh,
And that's because that's like a whole trail of natural food that the
right,
chickens are taking in, and then they pass it on to their eggs,
right,
and then that we're eating what's healthy. Because
right,
if you're eating something that the chickens are eating garbage, and they're like our bodies, then you're unhealthy with what
right.
you're eating.
Now, one thing with pork is that there's a whole other issue about, you know, the Muslims and the Jews, they don't eat pork at all. However, uh, if you do eat pork, make sure you get organic pork, because there's a lot of, they shoot them up with recombinant bovine growth hormone, these different chemicals, and it's very bad. I think the worst meat to have that's not, if you're eating meat that's not organic, is pork. It should be organic, or I would say don't eat pork at all. Just keep that off your menu.
Like the Jewish
Right,
faith and the Muslims, that they're
right.
eating correctly because
Well,
um
well, they don't agree on a lot of things, but they agree on that.
no, but that's they're intelligent in that way, because they're preventing, because pigs are not, they're not a healthy way to eat.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
um, the Weston Price Foundation has a lot of very good information if you look up their foundation. But Weston Price was a dentist. He traveled all over the world about 100 and some odd years ago to study all the primitive, so-called primitive tribes, because we call them primitive, but a lot of times they were smarter than a lot of other so-called sophisticated people. But and he found a consistency between them because they were all healthy, but they had diverse diets, but they all had healthy diets. And some people think, that we have an innate intelligence that would tell us what to eat and what not to eat. And there were experiments done with babies going back, I think it was the 1950s, where they put them
Oh,
on this carousel where they could spin the carousel around and eat all different stuff that was on there. And they found with these babies that they gravitated towards the sweets initially, but then after a while, they started to eat a balanced diet. So we do believe that we have an innate intelligence that, just like our gut feelings,
yep.
and it's called the enteric brain, because we have a lot of neurons in our gut, and it communicates. It's called the gut brain axis, directly with our brains, which is also a story for another day.
A lot of stories, a lot of information.
So getting to the gut microbiome. Oh, let's do the mouth first, because we're eating. Before we get to the gut.
Yeah, but we had it. We remember that show we did with I'm drawing a blank at her name. She's a wonderful doctor um out of Long Island. I'm drawing a
Right,
blank name. You guys, you're along the same
right,
line thought, and
right.
we did a whole show on guts. We did a
Yeah.
whole show on guts. It was important. It's really interesting information. So talk about the eating, and then we'll get to the gut.
Okay, get to the mouth microbiome first. because when we're eating, we have to chew the food first before we swallow it to the gut. So let's go over the mouth. Now, there's all these different microbiomes in the human body, and they have all different percentages of different microbes. And we are basically a walking petri dish because we have about 2 to 3 pounds of microbes in us and on us. So
Say it again. Say it again.
we have about 2 to 3 pounds of microbes in us and on us. And there's
Oh,
symbiosis uh, because we could not be alive without the microbes.
right, right.
So my mother used to say all the time, because in Greek, microbia, that's like basically germs. Microbia, she used to always be disinfecting. I used to think if you ate from an ice cream cone from your friend, you would die. When
Right, right.
I used to think, but she would have not done well during COVID if she was still alive during that. But we have good microbes and bad microbes. And you need basically about 85% good to 15% pathological to still maintain your health. When we start getting too many pathological microbes, then we start getting ill. So we have them in our mouth. And it's very good to, uh, I didn't mention it last time, but something I do every day now, it's called oil pulling. And you take coconut oil, a big spoonful of organic coconut oil, you put in your mouth and you swish it around and you draw it between your teeth. And as a matter of fact, I went last week for my cleaning to the dentist, and my oral hygienist was also a patient of mine. Uh, got to, she told me that it's the best she's ever seen.
Wow.
And I think it was all because of the oil pulling. And so I always try to get everybody as a patient all the time. And one of my best marketing tools when I go to the gym, which I'll be going later on today, I usually go early in the morning. When I go in the sauna, I always start talking to people in the sauna, because
Right.
you have a number of minutes there. Because when you're working out, it's kind of hard to, talk to people. But people are always very appreciative of sharing knowledge with them. So
Yeah.
mouth has its own microbiome. Listerine is not your friend
No. Wow.
because the alcohol destroys a lot of the good bacteria in your mouth.
Wow.
So
What about scope?
same thing. All of those are very bad. Although what's good sometimes if you have an infection is to use some diluted hydrogen peroxide if you have an infection in your mouth. But it's very good to have a good oral health for your cardiovascular system too. So going to the gut, all right, the gut microbiome. Fermented foods are very good to eat, like kefir or kefir, depending on how you pronounce it, which is it's like almost like it's a Russian, it's like a liquid yogurt. Uh, Good yogurt. Now they used to pasteurize yogurt years ago because people thought, oh, it's disgusting. There's live bacteria there, before they realized that that's the best part about the yogurt. Uh, Sauerkraut.
Wait, isn't yogurt still pasteurized? Some of it's still
Well, they
pasteurized.
pasteurize the milk before they make the yogurt.
Pasteurized the milk. Okay.
But
Okay.
but raw milk is very healthy with the bacteria there. But you have to make sure it's tested. But we can't buy raw milk in New Jersey. You have to go to Pennsylvania, although they can deliver raw milk from Pennsylvania to New Jersey. But the raw milk was demonized because, I mean, if there are pathogens in there, you can get sick and possibly even die.
Right.
But the odds of that are very, very minute. So taking in, good gut building uh, probiotics too, taking a probiotic supplement is very good for you. And you also want to have what's called digestive resistant starch. That's a prebiotic. You have prebiotics, you have probiotics, and you have postbiotics. And all of them are very good. And some of the supplements have all three together. But taking that digestive resistant starch, I've been doing that for about the last year. And without getting too graphic about it, they say you get ghost poops.
Oh,
When I first heard that expression, what is a ghost poop? I thought it was a poop that went
you
in the
don't see it.
and it went down on its own. I call that the Houdini. It disappears. But a ghost poop it sinks, it's very well girth, and it tapers at the end. And when you wipe yourself, there's hardly any residue on the toilet paper.
Oh,
Called the ghost poop. They're supposed to be the healthiest kinds of poops. And that's very indicative of having the, now bananas that are not ripe. You can get this from bananas, but I just get a powdered organic digestive resistant starch, which I have every day in my shake. I put a whole bunch of different things in my shake, and I take a bunch of different supplements a day, which is for a different show too.
yeah.
Now, the next thing that's very important, I mentioned this the first show, the vitamin D is very important.
Yes, we did a show on that as well.
Like it impacts
Yeah.
one third of the human genetic makeup. It's very important, along with vitamin D, to have vitamin K2. Now, vitamin K2 is different from vitamin K because vitamin K is it promotes blood clotting, and that's a lot in broccoli, and broccoli sprouts have a lot of vitamin K, which has the opposite effect of blood thinners. Now, with blood thinners, natural blood thinners, you have um, you have vitamin E is a natural blood thinner, which is very, very good. But uh, you have to eat the INR, which you want around 1 for people that are not on, you know, blood thinners, but blood thinners usually about 2 to 3.5. That's a happy zone. And when you're below 2, if have the tendency to have blood clots, you could develop a blood clot, but you went above 3.5, you get hemorrhaging. So
Oh,
that sweet area there.
wow. Wow. I just want to stop you because I want to go back. I found her on Facebook. Well, I couldn't think of her name. Dr. Roxanne Kafora.
Right.
That was the extraordinary doctor we had on our show. I'm going to invite her to come back with you, Dr. Mike, because you both had wonderful information and you fed off each other. And it really was a very informative show. I love her.
Oh, that was fun.
Yep. Yep. We did a show in Long Island where when she walked in the office, she had a big basket full of vegetables, a lot of vegetables. She put up a zucchini, she put up a tomato, she put up a pepper. So it was right along what you're saying.
Right. Now, so the vitamin K2, what's so important about that is it gets the calcium to the bones and the teeth where they belong, not the soft tissues and arteries where they don't belong. And we mentioned in the first show too about cholesterol. Cholesterol is not your enemy. Ultra high cholesterol is, and high triglycerides are, but you need cholesterol for all of your hormone productions and the brain, your nervous system needs cholesterol. And the problem with statins, and there's a good movie you can Google to watch called Statin Nation, is that statins actually makes your liver sick. It makes your cholesterol go down. I'm not a big fan of statins, but I can't tell you not to take them.
What are statins? What are statins?
Statins are cholesterol lowering drugs like Lipitor.
Okay.
A
Okay.
statin drug. It's one of the most common drugs in the world that are prescribed.
Well, then people should, I mean, they could go to their doctor and ask them and, and do some investigation, do your own research on the backstory and information on it.
And the problem with a lot of medical schools, they're getting to teach nutrition more than they were before. But, they were, and there was a whole thing of the Flexer report from 1910 that Rockefeller hired this group to do this report, and they basically demonized all natural health care. They demonized chiropractic, osteopathy, herbology. And what they did is they gave $1 million to all the medical schools to get rid of all the natural cures and to put in pharmacology, which was, horrible, the whole thing, because, drugs are necessary and needed when natural cures don't work.
Right.
But I'm always advocating to go naturally. But if you have sky high blood pressure, if you don't want to try to lower it naturally, you can start taking a blood pressure medication and then look into ways of doing it naturally later on, and then talk to your medical doctor about possibly weaning off.
Right.
Sometimes it's life threatening. So that's why you have to take care of that. And I tell patients, you get into a car accident, your femur is sticking out your leg. Don't come to me. Go to the emergency room.
Right, right.
There's some things that, and for stroke, heart attack, uh, accidents, things like that, there's no substitute for emergency medical care. There's no substitute.
I remember that when I got exposed to COVID, I called you right away and said, okay, Dr. Mike, what vitamins can I take
Right.
because you you have to know your sources. That didn't mean that I shouldn't take that I didn't take the shot, or that I didn't get exposed, and but I knew that touching base with you, you could help me as a partnership
Right.
to circle. So it was important. It was
Uh,
important.
More and more is coming out about that. And one thing with post-COVID syndrome is that people take, there's actually, I'll show you over here. I got different supplements here it's called serapeptase. And it's an enzyme. It's a proteolytic enzyme, but when you take it between meals, not with meals, because with meals, it'll digest the protein they ate. It breaks down spike protein.
Right, right, right.
And that's very, very good to take.
So while you're on the subject, what is post COVID? Like, what's the post?
Well, if you Google uh, Dr. Dr. McCullough, if if you Google him, he's got an excellent uh, post-COVID regimen that he suggests. He's a medical doctor and he can tell you more things than I can, because I can't talk about ivermectin and things like that. But
Right, right, right.
now they're finding with ivermectin that it's been used not only for COVID, but it's been used for um, parasite infections too, which is really what it was originally used for, because they call it the horse dewormer. But they're finding a lot of cancers are related to parasites. I mean, that's again a story for another day.
Well, that's good. It's a lot of information you have. We only have about 7 minutes left, Dr. Mike, because I have to get off at 11 because I get to babysit my kitties
Okay.
today.
So
Just wanted to let you know.
I'll put the pedal to the metal then.
Well, don't make it too fast, because
I won't.
people,
Okay.
you can always come back on. We can always have another show, but just the important parts.
Okay, B vitamins are very important. We mentioned them
Yes.
too. They're very important for and to make sure you get methylated bees. And it says right on there, because if you have that mutation, that you can't methylate the bees, and that happens a lot with a lot of Mediterranean people. And that's another genetic test that you can get done. And to get that test done, if you have high homocysteine, one test you get done, the homocysteine test, one time. If it's high, then get the genetic test done to see if you have the MTHFR mutation. Vitamin C is very important. And vitamin C, along with the bioflavonoids, which work together with vitamin C. Coenzyme Q10 and ubiquinol are very important for all cardiovascular problems, heart problems, and preventing strokes. Now, CoQ10 cannot be made that easily as you get older. So ubiquinol is more expensive, but it's the safer one to take because your body converts CoQ10 to ubiquinol. Magnesium, extremely important. Magnesium is involved in hundreds and hundreds of enzyme reactions in the human body.
Yep.
Very
Yep.
important. Omega-3 fats. Now, I like this one particular omega-3, which I have over here, which is Uromedica, because you can see that now.
Yep. Yep.
And I have all these, and anybody wants any more information about this stuff, they can always get in contact with me. But what that is it's not a fish oil. It's derived from salmon brain. And usually they use toxic chemicals to extract the omega-3s from to make the fish oil. And a lot of times it goes rancid. And whenever you get the burpees, that's because the fish oil is rancid. And a lot of times rancid fish oil can do you more harm than good. So this one, there's no burpees, and it's very, very good.
I love salmon. I love salmon. Salmon's good. I
Yeah.
like blackened salmon or teriyaki salmon.
Now this is fatty 15, which is the omega fatty acid that was recently discovered. And I take that one every day too. And from dolphins. They didn't kill dolphins, they studied dolphins to do the research on them. And fatty 15 prevents the red blood cell fragility. Now, you can get that through organic, grass fed, cheddar cheese, butter, yogurt, and things like that. It has to be full fat, though, not fat free,
Right, 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 right.
because it's the low fat doesn't get it. And it's also higher in what's called conjugated linoleic acid, which is also very, very important for the cardiovascular system.
You blow me away, Dr. Mike, that you know all these medical terms. It's
I
like,
study every day. I'm
I'm
learning
sure.
every single day. Now, potassium is very important because potassium is, most people are potassium deficient. The four biggest deficiencies we have: vitamin D, magnesium, omega 3 fats, and potassium. 99% of the population is deficient in at least one of those four, if not more.
Wow,
But
wow.
potassium is so important because if you ever heard of ATP molecules, adenosine triphosphate. Now, when you in the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, when you burn fuel, you burn sugar, carbs, or fats in the mitochondria, it produces ATP. And potassium is a big component of ATP. ATP is used for every biological process all plants, animals, viruses, fungi go through. They use ATP. I call it the molecule of life.
Wow.
And
ATP, okay.
and it's made in the mitochondria that produce energy. And this is something that I found out recently, and I actually did the calculations to make sure it was true because I didn't believe it. Any idea how much ATP we form every day in the human body based on a 3,000 calorie a day diet?
I'm not medical at all. I have no idea.
150 pounds of ATP.
Wow.
Now, I don't even weigh 150 pounds, you might say. How can I produce 150 pounds? Because it's constantly being recycled between the ADP and ATP.
Right.
ATP gives off the last bond between the last phosphate, and that energy gives off everything, runs off of that. Then it goes back and gets another phosphate put on. It gets constantly recycled. And just a couple more things. Microcirculation is very, very important. There's two different supplements I suggest for that because we have 4, 5, and 6 micron capillaries, but the red blood cells are bigger than that. They have to squeeze through. So one, that same company, which is healthy circulation. Another one, which is called endocalyx, which is not a very well known supplement, but that works on microcirculation also. They're very
Wow.
good for that. And then the last thing I want to mention is a supplement I only found out about a year ago. It's a relatively new supplement on the market. It's called PEA. And PEA, oh, there's one other thing I want to mention too, which is I didn't mention before, which is um, curcumin, boswellia. They're very good turmeric for reducing inflammation. For
Wow.
inflammation. But PEA is great. Just want to read you a list of a couple things. It's good for anti-inflammatory, pain, immunity, allergies, cognition, sleep, depression, stress, MS, arthritis, ADHD, strokes, neuropathy, dementia, long COVID,
Wow.
fatty liver disease, and more.
Wow. That's incredible. And that just came out. They just
Not just came out, but a lot of research has just recently come out about it. It's a relatively new supplement in the grand scheme of supplements. It was just like that. I said with that fatty 15, that's the first essential fatty acid in the last 90 years to be discovered. Now, just with essential fatty acids, the odd ones are anti-inflammatory, like omega-3, omega-15, omega-9. The
right.
even numbers are pro-inflammatory, cause inflammation, like omega-6.
Wow.
And you should have about for every two omega-6s in your diet, you should have one omega-3. That's a good ratio. Like primitive humans had that, but a lot of Americans have 20 omega-3s to 20 omega-6s to 1 omega-3.
Wow.
Very, very bad.
It's crazy. It's
But we
crazy.
all eat, and you're probably about out of time.
Yeah. Do you have anything important that you need to share? Because I always like to give the
Okay.
guest, or maybe a roundup, and maybe, where they can contact you if they like to continue the conversation. But I do want to share, once again, we say this every single show, we're not well, Dr. Mike is, but I'm not, this show is not about providing medical guidance. It's about providing information. Please reach out to your doctor if you have any questions. You can always reach out to Dr. Mike. But this show is not about telling you what to do. It's about providing important information to you, and then you just decide the direction that you would like to go in. Dr. Mike, go ahead.
Well, my website is Dr. Evangel. Dr. is like TV evangelist without the S. EVANGEO. Angel. DREVANGEL.com. And my email address is drevangel@drevangel.com.
And what's your phone number, if you can give that?
201 447 3800.
Say it again, because I interrupted you.
201 447 3800. I used to have that. Actually, I've had that number since 1986. And it used to be Morsan Tents, which was on Route 17 in Paramus. They had that before me. So
That's good.
I used to get a lot of wrong numbers for Morsan Tents when I first
Oh
opened.
my God. That's funny. Wrong number.
Yep.
So, Dr. Mike, you have so much information. Did you want to share something?
Yeah, one last thing I want to say is that
Okay.
the most powerful thing you have is your mind. That's the most powerful thing. And some people have the expression, if it's meant to be, it will be. I like the expression, if it's meant to be, I will make it be.
Yep, that's a good mind thought. And Nicole was right in alignment with that. Nicole was a wonderful, positive inspiration. I do want to remind everybody that World Stroke Day is on October 29th. I'm on the American Stroke Association website, and they're reading, join us for World Stroke Day and commitment to learning and sharing the fast, it should be fast, warning signs. You just might save a life from a stroke. And please, when you call the ambulance or 911, please let them know that it could possibly be a stroke. They'll get into stroke mode, and they'll come right away anyway. But it's important that you let them know that it could be a stroke, because time is of the essence, like with a heart attack. Another thing that the American Stroke Association is saying on their website, which we share all the time, strokes don't discriminate. Strokes can happen to anyone at any age. Globally, about 1 in 4 adults over the age of 25 will have a stroke in their lifetime. Most adults in the United States don't know the be fast warning signs of a stroke. Please learn that. Dr. Mike, can you run through it really quick, the be fast?
Right. Be fast. Okay. The first one, B, is for balance. If you balance off. E for eyes. Either you can't see, blurred vision, or droopy eye. F, face. Numbness in your face, pain in your face, or you can't raise your eyebrows or smile. A, arms. You can't pick up your arms. You have numbness in your arms, tingling in your arms, lack of function with your arms. And S for speech. You sound like you're got marbles in your mouth. You're talking like you're intoxicated. You can't talk at all. That's it for speech. S and T, time is of the essence, because the faster you get help, the better.
Yeah, it's literally, it's supposed to be scheduled as a 4.5 hour window from the onset of a stroke, which we shared on our show many times. And the last thing they share is stroke is largely treatable if you call 911 as soon as you recognize the symptoms. And you need to know the BFAST symptoms to call 911 as soon as possible. And of course, let them know.
Severe headache too. That's a possibility too, a severe headache.
Yeah.
Which is not this, but an added possible.
So, thank you, Dr. Mike. Thank you for all your information. Of course, you'll be back on our show. You're a part of our wonderful world. We're changing up our telethon a little bit. We're going to talk to Dr. Mike about that. Our telethon is on December 12th. We're really streamlining it a little bit. I'm very tired from this year. It's been an extraordinary year with our events. We've had 2 major events and just all these shows, and it's just a lot. It's a lot to keep track of. So I'm going to be doing the Unconditional Love concert online. Dr. Mike can join us if he'd like for a little piece of information. Jeannie's going to be joining us. We're going to ask some live musicians to join us so we don't have to stream it. you know, with the broadcasts of YouTube videos and stuff like that. So we're gonna streamline it a little bit. We're gonna do it differently, but we're doing it on our holiday annual celebration day, which is December 12th, Sunday, December 12th, from 10 to 12. So please join us. Donate if you can. We're really trying to make a difference in the world with the Stroke of Luck TV show, with our really important one that we really want to change the difference in the world of strokes, is to help those that their insurance ran out. And we have started the conversation and talk about creating a wellness center for strokes so that their insurance doesn't prevent them from continuing to get recovery. So we are really pushing forward on that. And Nicole and I are going to talk to congressmen and senators and the American Stroke Association about changing some of the protocols for health insurance for the tests that Dr. Mike shared with us. So thank you so much, Dr. Mike. It's a blessing to know you, to have you in our family. And on 3, we always blow kisses. 1, 2, 3. Bye, everybody. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.